Good morning. Welcome to our side event. We are focusing today on climate resilient and sustainable policies and practices to empower women and younger farmers. This is a joint session. We organized this in collaboration with the FAO Plant Division, Plant and Protection, FAO Palestine, the Partnerships and UN Collaboration, and the Office of Innovation. I am Barbara De La Rovere, and I'm from the Digital Agriculture Innovation Hubs. And I'm very flattered to be here and guiding you through this session. I'm representing my colleagues, Mohamed, Anna, and Stefano, who organized, put this session together. The four of us was a lot of hard work, so I hope you have a very good time today. Our speakers will share insights into transformative approaches that empower farmers on the front lines of climate change. We have an interesting lineup, as you can see here. Lamine Niata from the Ministry of Environment in Senegal, who will discuss gender and climate-sensitive farm and field schools. We have Stephen Sherwood, who's going to be online. He's a farmer and a specialist in knowledge, technology, and information and innovation at Eco-Rural in Ecuador, providing perspectives on their experience in the farm and field schools. We have Yamelaxira Temene, Director of the Technology Development and Transfer Environment Protection Authority, EPA, in Ethiopia. She's going to talk about the intersection of digitalization and climate change through the Digital Agriculture Innovation Hubs. And then we have two speakers that will be sharing their time. We have Marlise Grobelar, she's from the World Farmers Organization from South Africa, and Andy Calanda from the Rural Forum in Spain. They will share public policy solutions for young farmers. Now, following the speakers, we also have online a kind of a surprise. We have Srinivas Mandipudi. He's in India. He's a scientist and an artist. He has a company called Visual Think, and he's going to be capturing all the session and transforming them into drawing boards. We believe that visual language helps us understand complex situations and generate new ideas, and obviously solve problems through synthesis. So in the end, he's going to show up and show us what he captured through his drawings, and I think it's going to be very, very interesting. After the presentations, we have the Q&As, of course, so please write your questions down, and we will allocate the time when the speakers finish their presentations. Now, without further ado, let's call Lamine Niata from Senegal to talk about the gender and climate-sensitive farm and field schools. Lamine, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. I would like to take this opportunity to thank again FAO and all partners for giving us this opportunity to share our experience about farmers' field schools. And this one is special because it's making emphasis on women. I'm going to start by one proverb from Africa when we say if we want to have result in 3 months, you can crop something. If you want to have result in 5 years, you can plant a tree. But if you want to have result forever, you have to build capacities of women. And that one, in adaptation on climate change, it makes sense. Because for years, we are just struggling to enhance our farmers' capacities and also to build their resilience on climate change in Senegal. That is a semi-arid country. And that one, we were having a lot of progress on that area, working with both women and men. But when we start going through some approaches, making the emphasis at local level, local knowledge, and local champions, we are seeing that our results are going better. And for that one, we have a lot of approaches on climate-smart agriculture, agro-ecologies, but one of the best practices are farmers' field schools. It's where farmers, knowing their area, learning a lot from their ancestors, have some capacities they can share together and to allow them adapting on climate change. And that one, we are implementing farmers field school with some partners, but one of the main partners are FAO through some project, Saga project, and also other projects. And in Senegal, we have applied this experience at the center part of the country, where the project works with around 275 women by training, enhancing their capacities, but also by providing some field work, because we have some field where they have to practice what they have learned from the partners, and especially in market gardening. And in Senegal, market gardening is one of the main sectors where women are involved and are contributing to fill the country, but also to contributing to pay the scholarship of their children. I am the best case of that one, because my mother has working very hard on market gardening, so to make it possible for me to be here at this time. And this project now, we can learn a lot of success stories from this one. And now women are able to learn from the project and to see how they can share this experience on some villages by making some networks among women, and to go further than what they have doing on the business as usual. And as also success stories, we can just make the importance for partners to be working together, because what we see in the past was sometimes they are working solely, and they are sometimes doing the same mistakes, or someone is succeeding in this area, another one is just failing in one side. But with this project, we see FAO, we see Carrefour International, APROFES working together to share their experience, to do some synergizing before going to women, to train them, and to have the same voice. And the progress is now, we can see the progress on the ground with some women that have built their capacities. But now when you go on the ground, you can see that their lifestyle has changed a lot in a positive manner. So the participative approach and integrated are important if we want to succeed in this area. And also the learning by doing, because adaptation is context specific. You can have an experience in this village, when you go to another one, it does not mean you have to implement the same experience. You have to learn from what is available there and to adapt yourself. And for these women farmers field schools, we have learned that learning by doing also is an important thing. The facilitators, sometimes we need to train champions, because we cannot go with all of them. We need to train champions who are going to implement the project even when the project is not here. So we can have this kind of continuous implementation. And gender consideration, now women they have capacities to progress on their area, but they can now take the floor in their networks, and also in the local communities planning and other processes. And we have also learned that through this project, women now are more resilient, because they have learned some sustainable agricultural practices, and they are just using this one to make their activities more resilient, and their income also are more important now, and they are more investing in their children scholarship, but also in the family health. So this is what I have to share with you, and I would like to thank you.
Thank you so much, Lamine. I love that you share the story of her mother with us, and well done to her. See, her son is here with us, sharing her all that, her hard work. Thank you so much. Now we're gonna move to our speaker who is online, Stephen Sherwood. I think he woke up very, very early to be here with us. Will we see him here? Stephen, can you hear us?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, Great, great. So we're gonna start. We cannot see you yet, but we can hear you. Oh, there you go. Are you awake? Too hard? Thank you, thank you so much for joining us. So Stephen is in Ecuador, and he's gonna be sharing his experience from eco-rural, as I said in the beginning. And well, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Okay, and I'd like to share my screen, if I may. Okay, is my presentation up?
Yes, we can see your presentation.
Okay, so I can start then. Okay, good. Well, thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm hovering above our farm, which is in the highland Andes at about 3,000 meters above sea level on the equator. And I'll be sharing a bit of our personal history of our family farm, but it's also a history of our neighbors. And we want to talk about how we feel that Andean farmers, as well as other smallholder family farmers, can become very active players in climate change mitigation and not just beneficiaries of other people's actions and of climate change adaptation. And a lot of the work that I'll talk about is inspired by really over 3 decades of work in community forestry, as well as farmer field schools. Much of this led or supported by FAO projects. In particular, right now, there's 2 projects that we find extremely inspiring: the Andhra Pradesh Community-Based Natural Farming Initiative, and as well as work that's underway here in the Andes. In particular, I'll be talking about our work in Ecuador. In all, we helped to document over the last couple of years with the global farmer field school platform about 200,000 farmer field schools in agroforestry and similar themes in 21 countries across the global south. And the primary means of transformation in field schools and field school-like approaches is ecological literacy, helping rural families understand fundamental biological processes, farmer-led experimentation, and public demonstration of what we're capable of achieving. And the 3 publications and the images were published in the last year. And it really is born, at least in our case, of an appreciation of the centrality of soils in terrestrial ecosystems. As I imagine many of you know, soils accumulate more carbon than the biosphere, than plants and animals and the atmosphere combined, at least in a healthy system. And that much of the below ground, or the highest rates of below ground soil storage and accumulation is in highlands, but also in temperate areas, such as in the highland Andes, where I am right now. And if we look at the toll of 12,000 years of agriculture, right? And in this graph presented by Sanderman and colleagues, it shows how soil organic carbon has been converted into other forms, primarily atmospheric CO2, and how that's evolved over 12,000 years of grazing, but also cropland. The estimation that they present is a loss of about 133 gigatons of soil organic carbon over 12,000 years. It's roughly equal to all the deforestation on the planet. And if we look at food, presently, the estimates, when we look at food, its production, its circulation, its consumption, broadly conceived, represents about 35% of all greenhouse gases. So we see that if agriculture and food have played such a central role in oxidizing, right, soil organic carbon in the biosphere, we feel that it also has a potential high role to play in bringing that carbon back to Earth, back to the planet. The question is how? And we also view this as an opportunity for the 500 million smallholders out there who live on about 600 million hectares, about 12% of all farmland. And these smallholder farmers, family farmers, live on the most degraded areas across the planet, which also means that they're strategically located, have a vested interest in first off improving their agriculture for food security and food sovereignty purposes. But we are highly positioned to help capture, renew carbon cycles, and to bring a lot of that carbon back down to the planet. This is where I am right now. It's called Ilalo volcano, about 7,000 hectares, 800 hectares of which is cemented ash. Over the last 300 years, a lush highland forest was converted through agriculture, through cutting down forests to provide charcoal to growing cities, into what you see in that bottom right photograph, the subsoil. Cemented ash in Quechua, it's called Concagua soil. There's about 200,000 hectares of Concagua soil nearby. And we're working with smallholder family farmers, Andean farmers who were given this land or had to purchase it and are trying to eke out a living. And so a lot of the work that we're doing is helping them come to appreciate fundamental biological processes of the forest and bring those to bear in transforming basically a Concagua rock back into something that is operating as a living carbon system. Okay, and ecological literacy is the central part of this. Well, right now we're working, at least in the concept development, with about 150 all-star agro-ecological farmers to kind of demonstrate what is possible. We've done it on our farm. Our farm is Concagua rock about 20 years ago. And the sort of work that we work on is linked to this ecological literacy and continual farmer-led experimentation. Of course, we're all plugged into much larger groups. Here, the Agro-Ecology Colectivo, the Colectivo Agro-ecological, and many slow food and many other food interests that are working on trying to transform land for different purposes. The sort of topics we cover with farmers is pedogenesis, the creation of the soil sponge, the knowledge of how that occurred historically over 350 million years through plants pumping sunlight into soils and microbial populations, and this symbiosis that slowly transformed a rock into an oasis, into a sponge. A lot of work on microbiology and plant soil biomes, and work on studying functional groups for purposes of carbon and nutrient cycling, but also for renewing fundamental processes of plant health and food production. And then a lot of work is on successional farming, this issue of from a rock to a climax forest, and how microbial populations and plant populations co-evolve and to effectively bring life to the planet and oxygen to the atmosphere. And the growing expertise of the farmers that work with us, primarily women, but also men, is on questions of microscopy. A lot of work on doing bioassays and experimentations in simple growth chambers that we create on farms, how to isolate and reproduce organisms, both things like edible fungi and entomopathogens, but also how to create soil drenches and plant extracts and teas out of compost, and how to re-inoculate soils. And the manipulations of populations and biomes, right, both on seeds and on plants and in soils for different strategic purposes. And here's one example on the volcano that I live at, working with a group of women that are part of a farmer field school. And this is a very similar process to what we lived on our farm, of breaking this cemented ash, of covering it, in this case with a source of carbon, eucalyptus bark of all things that we didn't think would work, and composting out these microbes and making these teas of inoculant, right? They're fungal dominant compost teas that we use to inoculate soils and then to plant into, with the understanding that the single best way to improve soil fertility and to bring carbon back into soil is via live roots. And they create this traditional chakra. This chakra is now in process, but over the next 1.5 to 3 years, we want to see this intense sort of agroforestry system here with about 60 species, okay, per 1,000 meters that are bringing in biodiverse photosynthetes, feeding microbes that can then structure the soil in a very natural way, but in a way that we've helped to create together. So the question is, my final slide is, can smallholders become part of the solution and not just the problem of oxidizing the biosphere? Well, I just wanted to share a couple comments of Yolanda, the woman on the left who happens to be leading the Farmer Field School, a graduate who now organizes and runs field schools as a volunteer, but also a farmer. And for me, her comments show the ecological leader she has, and her farm demonstrates her ability to put that knowledge to work. So one comment she made was, the more we move the soil, the more we heat up the planet. And the knowledge that she's gained about how that it basically interrupts quorum sensing in communities of microbes in the soil. She held up some manure and held it up to the visitors. And she said, smell this manure. And she said, this is the smell of extinction. And then she went on to explain methane, CH4, and gases that microbes and anaerobic microbes can generate. She made the comment that when you overfeed a plant, you weaken the symbiosis and you effectively starve out the microbes. The plants will no longer provide 40% of all their photosynthetes to keep the microbes alive and have them work in symbiosis to help them find nutrients and minerals and to trigger active plant defenses. So you break that the moment you over-fertilize a plant, and the need to really avoid fertilization in agriculture. Her comment to them that the farmers are the chief labor force or the microbes are the chief labor force on any farm, the billions and billions of individuals under her feet, and how you can put those to work for you. And if you don't pay attention to that, then you end up having to pay for your labor. And she said that we farmers have it wrong. The soil does not feed the plants. And she explained that less than 5%, right, of the energy that a plant manages actually comes from the ground. It's the plants that feed the soil through harvesting effectively via photosynthesis, sunlight, and converting that into forms of carbohydrates, of sugars, basically, that feed microbes and help soil life exist and proliferate. And then her argument is the best way to improve a soil is photosynthesis and living roots, not using manure. And this kind of average conversation that she had spontaneously with this group of visitors, I thought was extremely powerful and demonstrated how smallholders can understand complex biological and ecological concepts and put those to work. In this case, for improving her agriculture, but also contributing to climate change mitigation. And this, according to our early studies, between 10, 15 tons of carbon being accumulated to her rock soil until it hits this theoretical threshold of about 10 or 15 percent organic matter.
Hi, Stephen.
Which is what these soils naturally hold. Thank you very much.
Spot on. Thank you. Thank you. That was very interesting. I definitely had my share of ecology literacy today. Thank you very much. That was very interesting. Well, so let's move on to our next speaker. We're going to leave a little bit the subject of farmer field schools aside, and we're going to talk about digitalization and climate change to help women and the younger farmers. I am Elixira. The floor is yours, please. We have a PowerPoint.
Let me stand here. Good morning, everybody. Yeah. First of all, I would like to...
If you can test your microphone, please. Yes.
First of all, I would like to appreciate FAO for organizing this pertinent side events. And I'm really happy and proud to be here and speak on climate change and digitalization. My name is Yamlaksra. I am from Ethiopia, Director Technology Development and Transfer in EP. So today, I would like to speak on climate change and digitalization. For those who do not know Ethiopia, how many of you have been in Ethiopia before? Great, great. Oh my God, very good. So you know everything. So here, as you see from here, Ethiopia is located in the Horn of Africa, officially known as the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia. The capital city is Addis Ababa. Ethiopia is bordered by Eritrea to the north, and Sudan to the west, Djibouti and Somalia to the east, and Kenya to the south. For your surprising, Ethiopia is the African oldest independent country. Ethiopia is the second most popular nation in Africa, next to Nigeria with 123 million people. It's also one of the fastest growing economic in the region, believed to be the origin of mankind. Do you believe that? Ethiopia is the origin of mankind. Good. Saying this, the most important issue is that climate change and digitalization. I would like to tell you one important issue is that more than 97 million people nowadays from 197 parties have been attending this COP28 climate change conference. Why? What is the reason? Why you are coming here, 97 million people here now? Yeah? Killing our time, spending a lot of money. You have a lot of things in your office, yeah? But we are here, why? The major agenda, because we have the common agenda that is global warming, yeah? Or climate change. That's the major agenda. Because it's a matter of survival. Global warming is a matter of survival. Because of that reason, from 197 parties, more than 97 million people are now here. So, because of that reason, it was already well articulated in Article 3. We have the common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities just to take an action toward this climate change. As you see from this, Paris Agreement was already held in 2015 in Paris. So we have the common global goal, that is a temperature goal, reduce or minimize the average global temperature to 1.5 degrees Celsius. That is our global goal. So, as we all know, climate change is affecting the entire world, especially for LDC developing country like Ethiopia. The dwellers is highly suffering from that. However, Ethiopia is a front runner in climate action and action in Africa, though her carbon low footprint. For your information, by the year 2010, Ethiopia emitted around 150 million metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent. That is, when you compare to that of the other world, 0.04, insignificant. However, because of the transboundary effect of climate change, the dwellers of Ethiopia is highly suffering from, look, this is a data from 1984. This is drought for the country, and animals, human beings are suffering. And at the same time, this is another effect of climate change, that's flood. And so many people are suffering from this. That is the transboundary effect of climate change. So what? So we have to look for solution for this, yeah? Because of that reason, the government of Ethiopia, by the way, is highly motivated and committed to take an action to combat this climate change. Because of that reason, the climate resilience green economy strategy has been developed and was launched in Durban 2011. That is why Ethiopia is the front runner. You say why Ethiopia is the front runner? The strategy was launched 4 years ahead to that of the Paris Agreement. As you know, Paris Agreement was launched in 2015, but Ethiopia has launched her green strategy in Durban 2011. So our strategy is focusing on 4 major pillars. The first one is agriculture. Unlike to that of the other nation, the major source of greenhouse gas emission is energy. But in Ethiopia is AFLO, that is agriculture, forest, land use, and land change. So here, agriculture is our major pillars to reduce the greenhouse gas emission, and at the same time, it has a potential abatement potential. As you see from here, from agriculture, 90 million metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent, we have an abatement potential. And then you can see from this figure, it was already mentioned, 2010, Ethiopia emitted around 150 million metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent. From that, 43% from the livestock and 7% from the crop, totally 50% emission from the agriculture sector. And we have also an abatement potential, 90 million from the agriculture sector. So at the same time, Ethiopia has already updated her NDC, nationally determined contribution. That is the common but differentiated responsibilities and respective capabilities. That is the common. So NDC has already developed and communicated to the UNFCCC. So from this perspective point of view, as business as usual will emit 403.5 million metric ton carbon dioxide equivalent, but we have an abatement potential to 177.7 million metric ton carbon dioxide. That means Ethiopia has 68.5% emission cut goal. So this is the intervention from agriculture sector, enhancing food productivity and production, also here in sustainable agriculture. So what are the interventions? Even in the adaptation perspective point of view, the agriculture sector has a lot of intervention. Almost 40 intervention has been already identified for the adaptation intervention. So we have 8 adaptation perspectives from the agriculture. So in order to enhance food security and improving production and productivity, and at the same time, in order to enhancing climate service data reliability, the most solution is technology. Yeah, technology is just simultaneously addressing climate change, and at the same time, just enhancing our development. So what kind of intervention has been done so far in Ethiopia, especially by the initiation from FAO? FAO has piloting not only in Ethiopia, but also in Caribbean country and Morocco and other countries, this digital agriculture, especially the Digital Agriculture Innovation Hub, is being piloted. So the advantages of this is, as I have already mentioned, in Ethiopia's strategy, both in adaptation and mitigation, especially in agriculture sector, in order to increase production and productivity, to just when you concerning climate change, to managing the climate risk and diversify the rural economy, this technology is very vital and important. So the Ministry of Agriculture, collaboration with FAO, has developed digital agriculture extension and advisory service, and this project is being piloted and is, look, this you can see the digital agriculture and innovation hubs in Ethiopia was launched by FAO in Ethiopia in 23 September 2022. So what are the benefits already mentioned? This can create or access for the financial services, especially for the small holders, for women and young farmers. And not only in Ethiopia, but also in Uganda, the same trend has been well done by FAO. It has also a good impact for that country, and digitalization offers unique support to rural women, especially, and it has also advantage to create job opportunity. So my way forward here is that in order to scale up this technology, creating enabling environment is very important, and strengthen the national digital innovation in Ethiopia also is very crucial, and linkage of small holders with the digital-based financial is very important, especially capacity building is very prerequisite. Saying this, I really appreciate FAO and for participants and for your special attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alexira, and for working close together with the country. Ethiopia is really championing the digital agriculture innovation hubs. Thank you so much. So now we're gonna have two speakers sharing their times. Let's hear about them. So they will both talk about public policy solutions for younger farmers and their important role of generational sustainability to shed the light on the important role they play in eradicating hunger and shaping the future of food. So Marlise will have the floor first, and right after we will have the next speaker. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you for the opportunity of being here. So she introduced me earlier today, but I just want to add to that introduction for I wear 3 different hats back at home. My first hat is I'm a young woman farmer myself. I farm with goats in South Africa. Secondly, I'm a qualified animal scientist working in the animal feed industry. And then I'm also a World Farmers Organization gymnasium graduate with regards to the agricultural leadership program. So I will be speaking out of a viewpoint of these 3 hats into policy making. So the most important task of all farmer organizations, whether it's local, provincial, national, regional, continental, or even in the World Farmers Organization international level, is advocacy. It is the influencing of policies. There is no bigger impairment to agricultural development and to mainstream women and youth in agriculture than a poor policy environment. Most companies in Africa and also Southeast Asia, Latin America, and anywhere else in the global South is struggling to develop policies which is conducive to profitable and sustainable farming. I'm from a family farmer network called SAI in Southern Africa, and we are the youngest agricultural structure in our region in terms of existence, but also in terms of membership profile. No other agricultural organization in South Africa has more members under the age of 30 than SAI. Our biggest challenges in the policy environment are those policies pertaining to 10-year security. It's seldom that women and youth are in the center of beneficiation when it comes to allocation of land. Where it is in terms of ownership, lease agreements, or permission to occupy, 10-year security is very central in which young farmers and women farmers need to make a solid contribution to adapt to climate change and to mitigate the co-benefits. So let me explain. Restoring degraded land and improving soil health is an investment that's needed. There's a lot of money that goes into improving soil, and it takes a number of years. So who is willing to invest if you don't even know that you will be there to reap the benefits in a year or 2 after investment? Governments who have unstable land policies and often threaten with expropriation of land without compensation, which is common in my region in Southern Africa, takes away all opportunities of farmers to restore health, and in fact, women and youth are even more vulnerable to insecure 10-year agreements, so they cannot play a role in meaningful adaptation and mitigation of climate change. The access to financing is limited, and where land cannot serve as collateral, or where the collateral value is eroded by threats of evacuation or expropriation without compensation, women and youth struggle to get proper financing. To improve soil health is a patient and sympathetic capital is needed, and this to get away from synthetic fertilizers and hard chemicals is a process that causes a lull in production. Farmers alone cannot carry the burden of this lull without any financial help. We need farmers to buy into this dream, and I dare to say that most women farmers and young farmers have already bought into this dream. We just lack the financial breach from our current practices to where we ought to be. We also need better involvement from the whole value chain, upstream and downstream. We need financiers, agri-investors, and input providers, mechanization companies. Downstream, we need processors, distributors, and even customers. So if the whole value chain is dependent on friendlier public policies, it's still very important that we place farmers at the center of all of these initiatives. As young farmers and women farmers, we are prepared to fulfill this role, but policy environment in our region and most of the global south is an uphill battle. We cannot start at the farm. We cannot start anywhere else in the value chain. We need to start with the policymakers. We need to make this improvement of soil make business sense. For as we heard earlier today, that 90% of what a farmer can do to adapt to climate change starts in the soil. We want to bring about this kind of change, we need to push policymakers. We need to make sure that we move away from short-sighted popular policies to long-term solutions which benefit both producers and consumers. Government policies should shift towards capacity building, towards action taking and follow-up programs. We are currently in the UN's Decade of Family Farmers, and at the WFO and at SAI we are vigorously fighting for these family farmers, for they are the livelihoods of massive communities. So to bridge the gap between national and global level and to make the UN Decade of Family Farmer Global Action Plan implemented successfully, we need to take action now. And as someone wearing 3 hats in the value chain, as a farmer and as an advocate, I believe that there's no better place than here and now to start taking action. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marlies. Now, Angelica from the World Rural Forum, please take the floor.
Okay, good morning, everybody. I don't have too much time, so I had a presentation, but I don't know if it's ready or it's a better idea to do it myself. Well, I'm a small dairy farmer from Spain. We are located in a small village in the north of Spain, in Álava, and we are a family farm with 4 members, my uncle, my father, my brother, and I. And I'm going to share a little bit my experience about how the climate change has influenced us in the farm and which is the things that we have done to tackle the climate changes, right? Oh, thank you. Well, we sold our farm through a local cooperative called Kaiku, and this cooperative takes most of the milk in our area. And the thing in our farm is that we have pretty new modern installations, facilities. So for us, it's very important not only the environmental sustainability, but also the social sustainability, because we have to have free time and weekends off like every other worker has. So that way we can, the young people will farm in the farms, otherwise it won't. About the crop side, we do most of our forages. We plant corn and grass in our area. As you can see, it's an area that is mixed with forests and grasslands and some crops. And then the effects of the climate change in our farm, we are feeling it already. We have new animal diseases transmitted by insects most of the time, and that's a loss of money for us. Then we have no irrigation, so the droughts, we have more and more of them, so for our corn is hard. And then we have new pests coming up, but not only small pests like spider mite, for example, that is a small insect, also big pests like wild boars or deer, that the winter time used to be harder in the past, so now it's warmer, the winters are warmer, so those animals could reproduce more, and it's a problem for us. And the actions we have done to tackle the climate change, the first one will go through modern facilities that give us cow comfort and animal welfare, and these give us more production, and then we need less replacement because our cows live longer, so that way we reduce the emissions because we don't need so many heifers. Then in this genetic selection of our animals, we also have incorporated a new index that is feed efficiency, because we have found that between different individual cows, the dry matter intake, methane emissions, and water needed for make the same amount of milk is pretty different. And also we have renewable energies like solar panels. But the fact is that in Spain, because the laws we have now, the energy that we don't produce and we don't need, we can't put it in the net so other people can use it. So I know the government is working on that, but for the moment that energy is lost, nobody uses it. Then for all those investments, and we have had the help of the government, the local government. They do politics like for genetic selection and animal health. They help us with us. Then we also are in a production system that I would say that is between conventional farming and ecological farming. That is called integrated production. And we also have financial help for that. Then the government also helps us with insurances for crops. For example, for the wild boars that we were talking before. And also for cattle, if you have a disaster with a disease or something, the insurance will cover that. And the government helps us. He pays for almost the half of the insurance is paid by the government. And then we also have subsidies for young farmers like me and my brother starting the activity. For the investments in the facilities, for example, for the new barn or for the, we have made also a new pit for the manure, so that way we have the autonomy for 6 months and we can use it whenever the crop needs it. So that way we save chemical fertilizer, we are using a lot less, and also for the renewable energies. And also we have a public-private partnership that is called El Cargi. So they help you with the banks. So they give you a loan easily, because sometimes for a young person it's difficult to access to that finances because the bank won't trust you. And our demands are like, for example, the concrete example of the solar panels, that energy is losing right now, so we have to put that in the net. And as I said, we have to make specific policies not only for the climate change, but also for the social sustainability of the system. And now the conclusion, in our particular case, we have done some things that improve productivity, and that has done a reduction in emissions, but also it has improved the economical profitability, so that is better for us. Because for me, in all these things, we have to take into account 3 things: the social sustainability, of course, the environmental sustainability, but also the economical sustainability, because the system has to be profitable. Otherwise, the farmer wouldn't farm anymore. I mean, you have to be sustainable in an economical way. And I want to make you think, guys, because sometimes I think that the small changes done in the farm are more effective for the climate change than big international policies, because the farmer knows how to survive. He's always looking the weather, looking the crops, looking the soil. So we know how to do many things, but they have to let us do those things. So that's everything, guys. Thank you. That's my brother.
Thank you so much. You know, just very quickly, once in a presentation, a young farmer from Grenada said, let's make being a farmer cool. You know, and seeing you two, I think you guys are very cool. You're doing a very good job, and keep moving, because this is such an important thing, not only for our food security, but, you know, for the entire world. Thank you so very much. Really, you guys are cool. Well, now, as I promised in the beginning of the session, we have an artist. Srinivas, are you here with us? So he was there quietly capturing all the moments. Hey, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Fine, he's talking from India. So what do we have? How did we look like for you today?
It was very good and refreshing to see everybody and hear all the talks. So I'm just gonna share my screen and present what I captured. If I could do that 1 second. Okay, so I'll just start with, sorry. Yeah, can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. So basically, I just tried to capture, it was a pretty rapid fire session. So usually it takes a little time to kind of dig deep and, understand what the context is, especially framing it through drawing. Why we are doing it is because there's a lot of different topics and important things covered, and how to keep track of so many things. So I think drawings help us in little way to just capture, remember what went and transpired in all these sessions. So this was Stephen's talk, where he said, food for life, and how the Andean farmers working towards regenerative food systems. And like, there's this thing about, we see modern food systems actually undermines the ecosystems. So I showed the planet as a burger, as we, it's like we have this mentality of fast food, which kind of, creates unnecessary dependencies. So basically, like from Stephen's talk, what was clear was that, I mean, soil is a living system, and it's a full chain from ecological literacy of the farmer, how we can understand and work with the systems to kind of, make the soil healthy and let the ecosystem function in its own natural way. So, and farmers and scientists learn from each other, and they do join hands. And so farmers can actually be the mitigation agents for climate change, and we should allow for farmer-led experimentations. And because the soil, it's living system also, but it also is a carbon sink, and it does a lot of amazing things. So soil, taking care of the soil is very the primary need. So that was kind of the highlight of Stephen's talk. Then then we had the digitization and climate change. So we see that global warming is affecting all of us. We are all in this together, and there's a common agenda for us to be involved in this because everybody's getting affected by it. Ethiopia has been a leader. It's a farming nation. A lot of farmers are there. It's even small changes affect all of them. So they have been the leading this economic and green economy policy and plan, and they have been actually ahead of the curve to implement all that. And FAO has enabled a lot of these digital farmer extension hubs to learn from each other and mitigate and find various ways to learn from each other and handle these changes. That was one. Then Marlise's talk was, she wears a lot of different hats. I didn't have time to draw the three hats, but I just put one hat there. So basically, it's like, how to mitigate these threats, especially supporting women farmers who are kind of leading the farmers' work from the forefront. If you see, most of the households and everything are supported by women farmers and women-led movements. So really, from everybody we hear that saving the soil is one of the most important things that is coming through. Soil needs to be treated with a lot of respect and spirituality, because it is where everything is, the genesis of everything comes from. And we have to focus on long-term changes and not maybe better than short-term like interventions. But public policy really needs to support financially. This is very critical to support small and marginal farmers and to take their voices ahead and support them in all ways possible, because they're the ones who are kind of able to do these little changes and experiment on their fields, on their little patches of lands, or in the little in local ecosystems, etc. So they need to be supported, and they don't even have an organized sector where you can go and support. So a lot of ground-based long-term efforts have to be done in that. So that was Marlise's point. And then Marshall, he said a lot of, they are also trying, I mean, I think it reflected the same sentiments, that they are small farmers, and they're doing a lot of mitigation efforts like solar, integrated farming, government who supports them with insurance and many different things. But they're seeing these climate change threats like pests and low yields, and different other problems coming from climate change. But ultimately for the farmer, it has to be economically sustainable, the whole thing. And we are dependent on all that. So it's very important that they are economically sustainable, and also that it needs to be sustainable socially, right? All of us have to, we want to eat healthy food, and so we need to support the farmers. It's a full ecosystem and chain. And Marshall's most important point I felt was that, small changes are sometimes more effective than kind of big policy rethoughts. So I think that is something we need to keep at heart and look forward to. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nivas. You know, there's a challenge with COP. We have people from so many countries. I have trouble memorizing and speaking names. So that one was not Marcial. It was actually Indica. There's no problem. I know I'm here struggling with making sure I'm pronouncing people's names right. But hey, hello, that's the beauty of diversity, right? Yes. I was asked here, my colleagues online, did Marcial speak? I missed that. Okay, oops, so anyway, thank you so much. That was very well captured. Thank you. That's amazing work. Really loved. I hope you're going to share with us so we can share with our audience later. We are sharing the pavilion. As you know, there's a session right after. This was supposed to be the Q&A allocated time. We went a little bit over time. We won't be able to, but our speakers are here. So right after the session, I invite you all to go have a coffee and change your experiences with. I will invite Martial Bernot, who will really speak right now, and who will do our closing remarks. Thank you so much. It was a pleasure to be your host today. Thank you.
Yeah, no, if you can put on the screen the room, because people online can see also the room on the people talking. Now, I will be short because, so Martial. But happy to, we should, time to time, perhaps we should change our job to really feel what the other is also doing. So we had a very nice journey today because we went on the 3 continents, Srinivas in India, we were in the Andes, Lamin in Africa, West Africa, with East Africa, with South Africa. So you see, we were doing a very, and we have Europa and FAO also, we are based in Rome. So we did a fantastic journey. You have seen the summary, that's the visual one, so I will not add much on that because basically Srinivas really capture all the diversity that we have: farmers, policymaker, we have farmer feel cool, government, and it's all FAO also. We have seen the digital agriculture innovation hub, and this is basically what I believe that we need to discuss all together. This is the only way we will find really the solution, having farmer, enabling policies, but for that, they need to chat with the government, and the government need to open the door to the farmer. So it's really something that we need more. On that COP, I guess some event was really on the having, for the first time ever, an agriculture, food and water day was enabling that dialogue that we need to implement perhaps more in the next COPs with a plural. So this is really, we don't want to have that day dedicated to agriculture disappearing. So we are all sharing the same vision. We can sometimes, it's a very complex issue, so we can disagree on the way to do that. That's why perhaps on the negotiation part is not ready. Basically, they postpone the discussion to next intersession in June in Bonn. But it shows that we are all here. We need to address all the challenges. On what perhaps just end on the farmer side, because they are the one bearing basically facing the impact of climate change on day to day. I like when you were remembering that the definition of sustainable development is 3 pillars. It's on, let's start by the economic one for the farmer. It has to be economic, environmental, and social. And if we miss one part of that 3 pillars, basically, we cannot, a triangle, we can have, it's fit, 2, we will fall. So basically, this is what we really need to consider. I want to thank all my colleagues in the room, Barbara, Liva also that supported quite a lot. Online, we have Mohamed, we have plenty of colleagues that were invested in that session that was a merging session originally of 4 different propositions. So have this in mind, and you see that 4 different submissions were able to put forces together to have something really concrete to offer to all of you. So thanks to all of you, thanks to the panelists, thanks also for the audience for coming the last day of COP on the morning. It's very difficult. It's not difficult to enter today, but this is perhaps the only positive point. The queue was, but you see the activities are already slowing down, and we are now concentrating on hoping that the negotiation will not fail completely, but we will have some, at least a declaration on recognizing somehow agriculture is somewhere in that conclusion, political conclusion. So this is all what we hope. Thanks again. Thanks so much. And thanks also to all the support from the IT. It's always challenging to jungle with the online, with the slide, with the room. So thanks to all of you. Yeah, perhaps to put. Just asking our speaker online to turn on their camera. They have to turn on their camera. It's fine if we do side-side, or should we do like football team? I love it. Football team.
No, we can always talk after transition.
Forever like that. Thank you. Thank you so much.